Welcome all. Boone here from EWPRO, getting straight into the weekly outlook, looking at the DXY on the daily. Nothing's changed since last week on the daily. I'm looking at all this as a possible correction, and we get another one down. On the lower time frame, H4, it pretty much played out exactly how we were looking at it last week. We were down here somewhere, and we had the ball hidden, and it's gone up and broken the top. Well, I'll just double check if it has broken the top. It looks very close to anyway. Yeah, it has just broken the top. So pretty much exactly what I said last week would happen has happened. And we're starting to get more bearish divergence now. The only way you can trade it is, going with this whole trend. There's a lot of bearish divergence, so you have to be careful. But what I'd like to see is a sell setup. For example, wherever this wave here ends, get a nice impulse down and a sell set up, and then we can look to sell. Other than that, you're just scalping buys, until you get something like this, a sell setup. AU, extremely difficult, like I mentioned last week. And I encourage you to go back last week video and look how it panned out to what I said. But yeah, AU on the daily is very complicated. It's very choppy. Sort of looking at some sort of a flat. Like all this is a flat. I was expecting it to go from here. We had that 333 here, and it went up and broke the top, but it didn't go very far. And now it's very choppy to the downside. So it becomes very difficult to trade. Even on the H1, there's really not much to do here. We are getting bullish divergence. We may get something on the lower time frames here. Yeah, looks like you could look for a buy. It's definitely not the best buy. Very risky because like this is the low here, not here. But yeah, I mean, ideally we would have got a low there and a nice impulse up, and then it start to give this correction. And you could look for a scalp A, B, C, and then possibly more downside. It's really just scalping. I shouldn't really be going into it on YouTube. So GU on the daily, we've got an A, B, C. This is looking very corrective here for more upside. But in saying that, it's pretty much done exactly like I was looking at last week. There's a bear hidden on the lower time frame. I'll just go down to that. We had that like bear hidden in here. We had the 3 up, and it hasn't actually come down and broken the low, but it's very close to it. This may be some sort of a larger flat here now. Like an a B, and we get a C up in here to finish off this wave 4, and then we get a wave 5 down. So I'll check on the lower time frames just to see if there is a nice setup here. I mean, this one's a lot better than AU because this one come from a low. Well, actually, it didn't, not quite. So this is the low over here, which makes it very difficult because if this is the low here and not here, this is some sort of an A, B, C here, and then you just get an A, B, C, and then more downside. So you got to be very careful. Really, ideally, we get another one down in here, and then a nice impulse up, and then you could start to look for buys. Until that happened, yeah, you're pretty much scalping sells, and we're getting all the bullish divergence, so you got to be very careful. EU, we got up to the 100 fib on this one in that wave C. The problem is this, once we bounced off that 100 fib, It's very choppy, this. Now, it's pretty much played out like I said last week. We had that bear hidden there, and it's pretty much, it hadn't broken the low yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. If this low does get broken, and then we get a nice impulse up, well, then you could look for a buy. Until that happens, you're pretty much only scalping sells. So yeah, really not much to see there. NU was one that didn't go like the EU got up to the 100 fib, for example, but NU just never went. We got the A, B. I was looking for that C up. Instead, we're getting this big flat in here. Like I've mentioned previously, until this low here is broken over here, I have to look at all this as a flat, and we get a C up, like an A, a B, and a C. Excuse me. Again, this had the bear hidden as well, so had the bear hidden here. Oh, sorry, it didn't have a bear hidden there, but this was looking very corrective last week. It's come down, broken the low, so it's pretty much done what I was looking for it to do. Now, if we got a nice impulse up, breaking this top here and the trend line here, and gave us a nice correction, well, then you could look for at least 3 up, an A, B, C, and the chances are that it turns motive, like we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, really waiting for a bullish setup. GY, looking at this A, B, C, and then we get an A, B, C on the daily. This is looking very bullish in here. It's gone up and broken the top now. Again, we got all this bearish divergence, so you got to be careful buying. But yeah, there's still, I still believe there's more upside in it. We're starting to get a ball hidden here already on this H1. So we got some sort of a 1, 2, 3. Get some sort of a wave 4 with a ball hidden here, and you get a wave 5 up. So you pretty much got to wait for 3 waves down, and then if you get a bullish setup on the lower time frames, you can look for a scalp just to break that top for the ball hidden, basically. UY's really taken off for the last few days. If you go back through my videos, I've been looking at all this as corrective, and I still pretty much have to, because it's so choppy. So I'm sort of looking at an A, a B, and a C down in here, and then some sort of an A, B, C, larger flat, and then an A, B, C. Pretty much what I showed last week. We got the wave 5 up, but we get an extended wave in here. Yeah, I mean, we're getting all this bearish divergence. So again, you got to start to be very careful. On the H1, I don't believe it's over though. We're getting a ball hidden in here. So, if you do get a buy set up on the lower time frames, you could look for a buy. I can't really go into how we trade the ball hiddens and that, but yeah, at this stage, there's a possible ball hidden there, so there's possible more upside. UCAD, looking at all this as corrective, nothing motive looking about that. I'm looking for that wave Z down. H4 again, it pretty much played out like we've been looking at for a long time. We had that nice impulse up in here, and we got the 3 down, so we're looking to buy to break the top. Yeah, you're either on it or you're not. It hadn't quite broken the top again, but I suspect it will. And when we do, we'll get bearish divergence in here, and then we'll see if we get a sell set up. Because of what's happening on the daily, with all this being so choppy, I'm more interested in the downside, especially now that we're getting bearish divergence. We've had bearish divergence for a long time on the H4. But yeah, so this was your buy opportunity in here to get a little bit of upside there. I mean, the only way you can really buy is if you see a nice correction. If you get a nice correction, possibly back to, the 50 fib of this, and then a bullish setup, well, you could look for another one up to buy. Extremely risky, but yeah, at this stage there is no sell on it, and there is no buy on it either at this stage. You're either on it already or you're not. The Swissy, we had this running triangle in here, like I've shown, and we had this like A, B, C. Again, I'm not convinced that this is the low here. Uh, I'm looking at all this as correction, and then we get one up, and then more downside. So I'm not convinced we're at a low. You have a look at this, like what price action is doing from the low here. It's very choppy. Like, it's very choppy. So it doesn't look motive unless you're looking at it as a leading diagonal, which I'm not really looking at it as a leading diagonal, because of the structure of it. But yeah, I'd pretty much be letting it break this top, and then any sell setup you get on the lower time frames, I'd be looking for the sell, and trying to get in as high as you can at the top, for the sell. Uh, but you got to wait. You got to wait for this top to be broken and a sell set up. Yeah, there's really not much to do. I mean, you could scalp the buys to break the top. Even it's pretty risky in itself. There's not much room up to the top. Yeah. EG, pretty much leaving alone. We've already got the 5 up. I'm waiting for a larger correction. So really not much to do on this at all. We are getting like 3 down in here, like an A, B, C in here. So more than likely there is more upside in it, even though we got all the bearish divergence. But yeah, we had a nice impulse down from the top. We had like 3 up. So there's your sell there. Um, you can't get into it here. You can't get into a sell now. Um, yeah, I mean, for the buy, if you're looking for it to break the top, which is risky because, like I said, we've already got all the bearish divergence, but you need a nice impulse up in here, a correction, and then a buy setup to buy just to go and break the top. For the sell, I mean, you'd be going right down onto the lower time frames, and I mean, more than likely there is more downside in it on the M15. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a bear hidden in here. It could be quite deep to this wave here, but then we get another one down, breaking that low. Yeah, you really got to wait to see what sort of correction it gives you. If I quickly go over it, because we had these 3 down in here, you can look for a buy, down here, but you need a nice setup, to buy. So I mean, it's looking rather corrective here. This price action here, But if you got a very sharp move up in here and then it looked like corrective bullish, well, then you could look for the buy with those 3 waves down to go and break the top. Other than that, it may give you a correction like this, and then you could look to sell it just to break that low. And like I said, more than likely you get a bear hidden in here, etc. WTI is really not playing the game, unfortunately. Like I've been saying for a very, very long time, I really would like to see this low over here broken. It hasn't broken it, and we're getting a bullish setup here. It didn't go last week, but nothing's changed. I'm still looking for upside. Like even last week, I think we were over here last week. I can't remember exactly where we were, but even even then, I was looking for upside for an A, B, C, and I still am until this low is broken. I'm still looking for an A, a B, and a C. So if we do get a bullish setup, you can look for it. Last week we didn't have bullish divergence, and this week we don't either. We lost the bullish divergence in here again. We never got it with this lower low here. We lost it. We lost a bullish divergence between this low and this low, and then between this low and this low over here. So yeah, which is pretty unusual. But again, I'm looking for a buy, and there simply isn't a buy set up on it. So, and you're going to have to go down right down to the lower time frames to get a buy. You know, probably M5 or well, yeah, well, it's not even even on the lower time frame. M15, it's still looking bearish. So, yeah, I won't go over it any more than that. Gold right up the top of the market on the daily. I've got to be careful here because we have this bull hidden. So, and if I go down onto the lower time frame, sort of have a bull hidden in here. So you may get a buy in here. Extremely risky. We're right at the top of the market. Um, you know, but we may get like 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th wave up here before we get like an A, B, C. Yeah. And silver's pretty much identical to gold at this stage. Getting a bull hidden in here. Like we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got a bull hidden in here. So, you can look for a buy. This one may actually be looking better than gold, a better setup. I mean, it's not the best because we do have a bear hidden on a possible bear hidden on the M15 here. But yeah, at this stage, you've got to be careful. We can get like 5 down and then it gives you a correction, impulse up correction and goes. So at this stage with that bear hidden, you've got to be extremely careful buying. Bitcoin pretty much done what we were looking for last week as well. It fell over a little bit more. Well, it looks like it fell over quite a lot actually. But we're looking for downside. I think we're in here. I can't remember exactly where we were last week, but there was no buy setups on it. Like, we had a correction there. I think we may have even been in here somewhere last week. I was sort of looking for a correction and possibly more downside. We never had that divergence like that, the bullish divergence here. Actually, between there we did. So I correct myself there. But yeah, this. I mean, you can only go with this trend. You're pretty much going with this trend, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So any upside is more than likely just a correction. Um, yeah, even in this leg down in here, just looking at this leg here, there's not even bullish divergence in this leg here. So I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, we get a little bit of upside in here, bare hidden, and more downside. Excuse me. So the only really thing you can do is just you're scalping to the downside, going with the trend. Um, that's pretty much all you can do at this stage until we get a buy set up. Um, so S&P right up the top of the market too. So it's been very risky. This is it's sort of given us 3 down here now. Look at that as a flat in there, and we get an A, a B, a C, and now we're getting an impulse up on the lower time frames. So again, it's risky because we're up the top on the daily, but it may, you can scalp to the upside, going with the trend if you get a nice setup. If I go down to the M15 quickly, it's not the best because it didn't come from a low. Well, it come from a low here, but you can see there's a little flat in here. So it's more like 1, 2, 3 wave 4, and you're trading a wave 5 up, and then possibly more downside, or it keeps on going with those 3 down I showed you on the high time frame there. AU 200, about time this fell over, right up the top there. We'll have to see, but this may be a flat here already. I mean, I wouldn't be trading it just yet. I'd want a nice setup on the lower time frames, but an A, B, and we get more upside. I have been waiting for a larger correction here before we buy again. You know, there's nothing on the H4. There's no divergence. Um, so it's still very much bearish. If you got like, we do have bullish divergence in here. If you get a nice impulse up, breaking that top, and then a correction and a buy setup, you could look for at least 3 up and just see how far this goes. This wave C, it may turn motive and give you 5 up. But yeah, it's not ready yet. UCAD, right up the top of the market as well on the daily. This is more of a sell, but we need a correction. Like, if we get, it's giving a nice impulse up in here. So if it gives you a correction in here and a buy setup, you can look for 3 up. But then I'd be looking for downside, for like an A, B, C. So in the short term, if you get, if I go down onto the lower time frame, this one's ideal because this one come from the low and we got the nice impulse up, whereas a lot of the others, like I showed, they didn't. So this is one of the nicer looking ones. So we got a nice impulse up from a low. So if we get a nice correction in here, Monday, Tuesday, and then a buy setup, you can look for at least 3 up. Yeah. Lastly, the DAX. Yeah, I mean, this is I was looking for some sort of a flat here, and I still am. All this is very corrective. Like, I'll be counting all this, whatever's happened in here, as corrective, um, and even now. So this can be an expanding flatten out, like an A, a B, a C down. Then we get a buy set up, and then we get the A, B, C. At this stage, is there a buy set up on it? No. And more than likely, there's more downside because we have sort of an A, a B, sorry, a 1, 2, 3, and I don't even believe this is over a 3, and then we get a wave 4 and a wave 5 down. So we're in a wave 3 in here. The safest way is to wait for the wave 4. Wait for this wave 3 to be over, wherever it ends, and then you get the wave 4, similar size correction to that over here, and then we get a wave 5 down. You look for the wave 5 down after you get a nice correction there. So I hope you get something out of this weekly outlook. If you do, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.